Almost a month ago, on a Thursday afternoon, on a Thursday evening, I shot myself in the leg. Let me explain how.
Positive energy and good vibrations from me to you. You have now tuned in to the Imperfect Fathers Podcast.
Well, positive energy and good vibrations from me to you. It's your boy, RJD, the Imperfect Gentleman. And yeah, this is another dope episode of the Imperfect Fathers Podcast. Now, before we get started, I know you guys are probably wondering, yo, RJ, where the rest of the Imperfect Fathers at? This episode right here is kind of a intimate one, should I say. This episode right here is going to be me being very, very transparent of the last couple of weeks of my life. So I felt it in my spirit just to do this podcast impromptu. The rest of the Imperfect Fathers do not know I am shooting this episode, just to do an impromptu episode of me just giving my testimony and being transparent for someone else's therapy. If my message is that my testimony is someone else's therapy, I have to be transparent enough and bold enough and brave enough, as well as confident enough to be willing to bear the story, good, bad, indifferent, embarrassing or not. So with that being said, around this podcast, we got to pay our bills around here and we got to talk to the Father. So with that being said, gracious and eternal Father, God, I thank you. God, right now in this moment, I say thank you in my heart. I thank you with my mind. I thank you in my body. I thank you in my soul. God, I'm just grateful to be here in this moment. God, right now, as your son, I ask you to look over me as I go across the airways, God. That you may cover me and comfort me as I tell and bear it all, oh God. God, strengthen me to tell this story, God, that I may be a vessel to help someone in their time of need, oh God. God, help me to be strong enough to get this off my chest. God, help me to be able to tell my truth. God, I ask you right now, God, to cover me as I go across these airwaves. God, I ask you to do it right now. In your son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen. Yeah, it's going to be one of those, man. It's going to be one of those. So let's just dive into it. Almost 3 weeks ago, almost 3 weeks ago to the day. No, I'm sorry, almost a month. Wow. Almost a month ago, on a Thursday afternoon, on a Thursday evening, I shot myself in the leg. Let me explain how. So, God, I'm so grateful. Y'all gonna have to excuse me a little bit because I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. God, I'm so grateful. God, I'm so grateful. Okay. So, almost a month ago on Thursday, the day started out. I had a lot to do. I've been ripping and running, trying to provide for my family as an entrepreneur. Running and running and running. Anybody who knows entrepreneurship, especially in the vein of being a coach that operates in the personal development realm, you understand that you're not just building a business. When you're coaching or helping someone develop in some facet of their lives, you have to be doing the work on yourself as well. And along the journey of building this business and becoming a men's confidence coach, it's been hard. It's hard because you have to provide as a husband. I have to provide as a father. I have to be present. There's a lot of things that come with it besides the work of coaching. And if you're going to help someone personally develop in any area of their lives, you're going to take that journey with them, and you're going to take it on your own as well. So the last few months, I've been helping a lot of men deal with a lot of things in their lives. So if I'm going to help them deal with these things, obviously I'm going to have to be able to deal with it as well in my life and be able to have some sort of relating point to them. Oh man, I've just been really, really bogged down emotionally, spiritually. I wasn't in a space that was conducive to being an effective, pretty much anything. I was slacking in areas that I pride myself on. Being a father, being a husband. Those two duties I build my foundation on, and I really stand on those two jobs that I have and responsibilities. And I wasn't doing as good as I wasn't doing as good as a job as I thought I was. Now, that's from me, my viewpoint after, well, that's my hindsight viewpoint. But in the midst of what I was going through at that time, I didn't really see it like that. So going along, I'm really, really struggling. I'm hurting. I don't really have anyone to talk to at this point in time. Yes, I have a therapist. Yes, and all those things, but I didn't have a real person that I was going to pour all this on to at that time. Because to be honest, I was embarrassed. So I had a lot on my plate all the way around, let's just say. So on that Thursday, my day was jam-packed. I had a meeting. I actually had two meetings that day. One on one side of town and one on the completely other side. After the meetings, I had to come home, get situated with the family, and then I had a basketball game that I had to go to. And after the basketball game, I told myself I'm going to go and move around, help my homeboy. So by the time that I got home, it was about 9:30, 10 o'clock. Now, in the midst of that day, while I was running around doing what I was doing, I had my firearm on my hip. And while getting in and out of the car, there's a spot where I put it so I can access it in the vehicle. So I took it off my hip and put it in the location. As I'm putting it in the location, I realized, like, oh, there's some fuzzy stuff, some dust, I guess, on the gun. I'll clean that later. You're just moving around throughout the day. You don't really think like that. And I said, I'll do it later. I'll clean it later. So the day happens, goes all the way through. I get home. Now I'm exhausted. To be very honest, I'm physically tired. I'm mentally tired. I'm just completely worn out. But for some strange reason, my brain and my psyche was still set on, hey, let me clean my gun. Now, in that state of mind that I was in, I shouldn't even had the thought process of doing that. But for some reason or another, I said, I could do it while I sit here. So I came in the house, I sat down, I kissed my wife. My kids were in the bed asleep already. So I sat down on the couch and I removed the clip out of the gun. And I put the clip on the table that was sitting next to me. And as I was getting ready to release the bullet that was in the chamber, I got stopped because the safety was on the gun. So I removed the safety, but after I removed the safety, I picked my head up. I began to look at my wife, talk to her, see what was going on, watch a little bit of the television, and then I went back to what I was doing. Now, in my head, when I initially slid it back and it didn't move, and I removed the safety, for some reason or another, my brain told me that I cleared the chamber. So I then pulled the 2 pins down under the gun. Now, anybody knows how to operate a firearm. There are 2 pins you got to pull down to release the slide so you can take the gun apart. I pulled the 2 pins down, and in order to release the slide so I can open the gun, after you pull the 2 pins down, you have to pull the trigger. You guessed it. I pulled the 2 pins down and pulled the trigger. Pow! Now, the gun goes off. My wife jumps up. She was in the living room with me. And my first thought is, oh my God, I just shot the gun in the house. Like, I can't believe that. Like, I just shot the gun to my house. My second thought was, oh my God, is my wife okay? So she stands up and she's moving around and she's panicking a little bit, like, what just happened? I realized that she was fine. Hey, Poppy. I realized that she was fine. At that point, my second thought was, are my kids okay? And my wife goes, yes, they're fine. They're still in the bed sleep. I said, great. Now, my third thought was, well, where'd the bullet go? I looked down and I see blood coming from my jeans. I'm like, oh, there goes the bullet. In that moment, I realized I had down shot myself in my calf muscle. So I said to my wife, babe, I'm okay. Just call the EMTs. God, I'm so grateful. Thank you, God. I'm grateful for so many reasons. Now, I'm going to tell you the reasons I'm grateful in a minute, but my wife then calls the police, calls the ambulance. They get there within 5 minutes because they're around the corner and they had an accident that they were just wrapping up. Literally, like I would say, not even a full block from my house. I actually passed the accident on my way home. So they were at my door within seconds of us hanging up the phone. And when they came in the house, they were asking me questions. I told them what happened. They cut my pants off, and I stand up. I get on the stretcher, and as they're rolling me out, I was so just grateful and calm at that point that I was just like, "All right, guys, I'm ready to go." But as I was leaving my house on the stretcher, I looked over my shoulder and see my wife distraught. I seen her confused, scared, and helpless. She felt helpless because she didn't know what to do. So as they were rolling me out, I say, "Hold on, y'all. Hold on." I say, "Baby, come here." She comes over to the side of the stretcher and I say, "Baby girl, I'm being rolled out of this house, but I'm going to walk back in here later. I promise you. Don't worry. I'm coming back in this house." She said, "Okay." They roll me out. As I'm on the gurney getting into the back of the ambulance, the EMTs are asking me, "Am I okay? Do I feel my feet?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm great." And they kept saying, "You're great." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm absolutely fine. I'm great." So we get in the back of the EMT, the ambulance, and the I have a newbie and a veteran. Like the newbie is being schooled by the veteran, so he's teaching while it's happening, and I'm just grateful, man. I'm smiling, and I'm thanking God. And they're like, "Wait a minute, bro, you you just shot yourself. Like for somebody who shot themselves, you're pretty happy." I said, "Bro, y'all just don't know how grateful I am right now because there's so many reasons I'm happy right now. But the most important reason that I'm happy right now is that this happened to me and no one else in my home. Like this bullet went through me and not my wife, not my son, and not my daughter. My mistake cost me my leg right now. It cost me a hole in my leg. I am grateful." So as we get to the hospital, they're actually asking me which hospital should I go to, and then they asked me, "Do I mind going to a certain hospital?" And I'm just like, "No," as long as they, you know what I'm saying, as long as they take care of me. So they take me to Broward North, I believe it was. And when we get out of the ambulance and they're bringing me out of on the gurney, as I'm pulling in the emergency room, the nurses and the doctors were literally doing this. They were absolutely bored out of their mind. So when I walked in there, when I got pushed in there, when they seen me, they were excited. Like, "Yes, there's some work to do." So I'm like, "Oh, this is different. I've never been greeted like with this much attention at any hospital for no reason. So this is pretty dope. Like I have everybody coming to check on me at one time. This is pretty dope." Because I've been in hospitals where I had to wait. I've seen people in waiting rooms with knives sticking out of their heads and all kinds of different things happening to them in a waiting room. And here I am with a gunshot wound whistling Dixie, and I'm being pushed right in. So everyone was phenomenal. Like the nurses and the doctors were great. They were gracious. They were concerned. They made sure I was comfortable. It was a phenomenal experience overall. So when the doctors came back, they were letting me know that they're gonna give me some scans and some tests to see what all damage the bullet may have done. So I'm like, sure. I get in there, they do the test, everything comes back fine. Come to find out, the bullet goes straight through my leg, y'all. Straight through my calf muscle. Let me see if I can show you. This side, this is the high inside calf. Let me try to turn this way. And this is the exit wound. You can't really see it. So the bullet on the angle it went in, because of the way the gun was facing, it was facing down. Yes, even though I made a bad choice and I was flawed in my execution of properly unloading the weapon, my mechanics was still right because the gun was facing down. It wasn't all the way right. My mechanics were not all the way correct. It wasn't facing completely down. But in this case, the best thing about this was it wasn't facing completely down, because had that bullet shot down directly to the floor, it could have ricocheted up and hit me in the head, and we could be singing. I couldn't be here right now. This is another part of the reason I'm grateful. So the bullet went in high inside calf and came out low outside calf. And the angle it went through on, it didn't touch not one vein, it didn't touch not one artery, and it didn't touch no bones. It went straight through the muscle. Now, any slight angle different of that bullet entering my leg, we're talking about something I might not have my leg right now. Because one angle towards the front, that's my shin bone. Going up a little bit, there goes my kneecap. Now, even a little further than that, people who don't know me, I broke my leg in high school. I currently have a metal rod going through my leg with 2 pins. So if I shot any higher past my knee, I would have done some really, really damaging blow to my leg that I probably would not be able to correct or fix. Now, I've told you guys so many reasons why I'm grateful. But one of the main reasons I'm grateful is because once I realized it was me that was hit and everybody else was okay, the first thing I began to do was move my toes. And then I picked up my heel off the floor to see if I still had movement in my leg. And I was able to put pressure on my leg. It hurt like the dickens, but I was still able to function with the leg, so I knew I was okay. Once I got to the hospital and did the scans and found out that there was no immediate and terrible damage done to the leg, and it was just straight through the calf, I began to cry a little bit. I began to thank God, and one of the nurses came and asked me, she's like, yo, for someone who has been shot, you're amazingly happy. I said, yo, in this bad situation, that is by far one of my worst situations I've been in, it's the best case scenario. This is the best case scenario of me shooting myself. I'm grateful. I'm thankful. Now, the reason I'm telling this story is not just to relieve myself, right, as my own therapy, And also not just for the standpoint of good content. I want this story to be a lesson to everyone, but more so to the men out there, especially the fathers of the world. Now, one of the reasons I felt this happened to me is because I consistently refuse to take time to myself. I refuse to just slow down. And throughout this entire process, I feel like God has showed me and taught me that I need to slow down and pay attention to the details. Now, some would say, RJ, you are a pretty detail-oriented individual. And I would say you're pretty right, depending on situation and circumstances. But if I had a better grip on my own personal state and not having the need to constantly have to go to provide and do the things that I'm quote unquote responsible for doing, I would have taken the time to realize that I was not in the mental state to operate or even touch my firearm. What I should have did was take that gun off my head and go put it in the safe and call it a night. But because I had this thought process that I have to keep going, because for some reason or another, we've been programmed to think that we're human doers rather than human beings. I have a struggle with just being. I always have to feel the need to do. And this lesson, right, that I had to experience, that I got to experience, taught me so much about myself as a man, as a father, and as a husband. Number one, I've learned as a man that it's not about so much what I do. And I also learned as a man, I have to give myself more grace. I do. Shout out to KB. I have to give myself more grace. And I also have to appreciate myself more. So that's as number one as a man. Now, as a father, I learned that I'm not as present as I thought I was. Case in point, the night after I shot myself on the leg, I'm hobbled around and my daughter comes in the room. And she's like, Daddy, do you want to lay down and watch Coco Melon with me? So I go, baby girl, yeah, let's go. Let's watch it. I have my laptop on my lap and I turn it on and we laying down and we're watching it. And when she got tired of watching it, we watched a few episodes together and she was like, thank you, Daddy. And I was like, baby girl, you're welcome. But what do you mean, thank you? Thank you for what? She goes, Daddy, you really watched it with me. And when she said that, it almost broke my heart because she realized, like, this is the first time I actually didn't have my phone in my hand when I was spending time with her. This is one of the first times that I actually partaken in what she enjoyed doing with no distractions. I was able to talk to her about Coco Melon. I was able to ask her questions about the show and she was excited to answer them. That crushed me. Because here I am thinking I'm such a great dad. And I pride myself on being an awesome dad. I love my kids beyond measures. And Really, I'm trying to give them all these things and provide all these things, and all they truly want from me is for me to be present with them and my attention. So recently I had a speaking engagement that I went to, and I began to explain to the gentleman because obviously I'm on crutches and standing for a long period of time is not really ideal right now. So I used a talking point in my speech to sit down a little bit, but it really was an eye-opening moment for myself, because I was explaining to them that when we're up and we're moving around in life, we see things on a certain level, on a certain plane, and we think life is what we see. We think our perception of what everything is reality. But it's amazing how my perception of reality and things that in my life change from me being as high as I am when I stand up regularly with no conscious thought about it, compared to now being hobbled, having to sit down more, and being down here on this plane, how I see life in reality. It's a humbling experience. And I'm so happy to say I've had this experience. Now, let's talk about why I'm so happy that I had this experience. Because number one, I can tell you I feel pain currently. Number one, I can tell you that I feel pain. I'm not dead. That's why I'm happy. I'm happy because I'm going to walk again. Within the next few weeks, I'll be walking. I'm already putting pressure on it. I will run again. I will play basketball again. I will move again on my own willpower. So I'm happy. I'm happy that no one else in my household had to deal with this. I'm grateful of everything that's come out of this. I've learned lessons about myself. I've seen my blind points in my relationship with my wife. This bullet that went through my leg was an opportunity for me to connect deeper with my family, to fill in the gaps that I did not see because I was always on the go. So yes, I'm extremely happy because I learned so many lessons through this experience. Fellas, you don't have to go. Sometimes you just gotta be. And throughout this entire process, I thought to myself, well, let's say like put it like this. Before this experience, I thought to myself, in the turmoil I was going through mentally, that my family might be better off without me. I was literally contemplating suicide. I was feeling like, wow, I'm barely being able to provide for my family. Maybe my insurance money would do them better than my presence. It's crazy because if you allow your mind to take you in those places, you end up in a very, very dark place. I really, really was feeling that, being that I could not provide the things, and that the things, I couldn't give them the things that I felt like I needed to provide for them. They would be better off with the money and the things if I wasn't here. And it's so crazy because I didn't realize how much value I truly possessed until I seen myself not be able to move around in my home. It's crazy because I didn't give myself nowhere near as much credit as I deserve for the things I do for my family. Because being that I wasn't able to move around and contribute to my home, a lot of things began to lack. Obviously, the financial, the little bit things I was doing financially to go about and bring money in the house, I can't do physically. Obviously, at this point, I have to lean and depend on things that and not things but people to help me move and operate and do the things I normally do. Like I began to see the laundry get backed up, the dishes, the kids' toys, the clothes, the different rooms around the house. And I began to say, wow, this place is looking crazy. And I felt so bad because my wife was going, doing everything she possibly could to take care of the kids, me, and the responsibilities of the house. So much so that I began to feel guilty to ask her to get me water or to do things for me because I seen how much she had to actually do in my absence. So it was almost like I was able to see what my family would be like without me, in a way. Wow. Even as I sit here and say it, it humbles me because I didn't realize it as I was going through it. Fellas, we got to give ourselves more credit for what we do, for not just ourselves, but for what we do for our family. And I'm not talking about anything to do with financial provisions or anything of that nature. If you are a father, if you are a dad, and you are present in your family's life, your presence it means the world. Your presence alone, your activities amongst your home, it means the world. And I didn't realize how much it meant to my family until I began to see where things begin to slack and lack at. And that also began to crush me because let's talk about the mental state after that I went through, the emotional roller coaster after shooting myself. So I came home that night. Now, credit to the hospital, the EMTs, I was in and out of the hospital within an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. Shout out to my man, the other imperfect father, my man Dave, who's normally on the podcast. He came through for your boy. He came through to the hospital, brought me something to eat. Wait a minute. Now that I think about it, yo, Dave, thank you for buying that food, but you ate that. I didn't eat that food. Yeah. Oh yeah, they wouldn't allow me to eat. You're right. But thank you for the attempt for buying me the food, bro. Yeah, he came out of his crib, bro. He drove down to the hospital and they wouldn't allow him right away to come in the hospital to come check on me right away, protocol and all those things. So finally they let him back and he came in there and helped your boy out, man. He helped me get me situated from the hospital to the house. Now, well, hold on, quick pause in the story. Let me tell you something that happened at the hospital. So shout out to the nurse, right? I forgot her name, but she was an awesome lady and she knew her stuff. So if you ever been through any kind of trauma and you lay in a hospital bed, when you're laying horizontally, they're giving you a lot of meds through your body and it's flowing through your bloodstream. And when you're on the horizontal plane, you're situated and you're leveled off one way. So your brain is processing things on one level. So as I'm about to be checked out of the hospital and they're getting my things to check me out, she's telling me, you know what? I'm going to leave your IV in your arm until we get you close to being out of here. And I'm like, I'm full of meds, y'all. I feel amazing. I don't feel the bullet wound. I feel great. I got so much drugs going through me. I'm thinking to myself, I could almost walk out of here at this point. So they stand me up. They sit me up in the bed and they put me in the chair. When they put me in the chair, this by far, y'all, is the worst experience of the night. I mean, worse than the actual bullet going through my leg, worse than any kind of uncomfort or discomfort I felt throughout the whole process. This part was the worst. Once they sat me in the wheelchair that they were going to get me out of the hospital in, the whole room began to spin, and I got so nauseous and dizzy that I began to beg, "Oh my God, please help me." And when it began to happen, I found myself just being able, just losing all kind of abilities to move and just do anything. I began to get really, really weak. As this is happening, I mean, I'm sweating profusely. Now, anyone who knows me knows I sweat a lot, right? I could sit here right now with a thought and just begin to sweat. And if you ever see me play basketball, you know I run through t-shirts and clothes. Like I get drenched. I sweated the hardest I've ever sweated in that moment. So much so that my man Dave was like asking. I heard Dave asking the nurse, "Is he okay? Is he gonna be all right?" Like he's leaning over. He's looking great, and he's sweating so much. The nurse is like, "I knew it." So as she's seeing this, she goes and gets the IVs, and Dave begins to kind of wipe my face off. But I'm sweating so hard under my clothes. I'm sweating through the garments. So she connects the IV to the bag of medicine, and it was like almost like moments later, I began to get my strength back and come back to a little bit. And I'm like, "Yo, what was that about?" She was like, "See what I told you? I'm glad I kept the IV in your arm, because had I removed the IV and you began to pass out the way you did, you would have definitely blacked out, and I would have had to stick you, and also while trying to get you back conscious. It would have been a mess." So I'm like, well, thank you, number one, for your experience. Thank you for you knowing your craft, because that experience was scary. I thought I was dying, to be honest. I didn't know what was happening to me, and it felt horrible. So that was the worst part of the story. So back to the mindset of experiencing the roller coaster after the gunshot. So I come home, and when I get in the house, wait, another sidebar. I was kind of mad because when I walked in the house, I didn't see the carpet where all the blood was at, and I didn't get any pictures. Right? I didn't get any content for you guys of the blood on the floor, or the bullet casing, because the officers took that and all those things. So when I came back in the house, I was looking on the floor, and I was kind of disappointed, like, darn it, there's no footage. So I came in the house, and I sat on the couch, and I put my leg up, and I just began to just smile and thank God and hug my wife. So I went to bed, woke up the next day, and I was completely and utterly disappointed in myself. I was going into a borderline depression. Reality had set into me what I had done to myself, and I was so embarrassed, and I was so ashamed that I didn't want to tell anyone. I was really contemplating on lying and just not telling anyone that this even happened to me, other than my obviously immediate circle. I didn't even want to tell my mom. I didn't want to tell anybody. I felt so ashamed. I felt so stupid, for lack of better words, that I actually shot myself in the leg. So once again, if you allow yourself to beat yourself up mentally, you'll really pound on yourself. You'll really lay it on really thick. You'll shoot yourself in the foot. Pun intended. And shout out to my man and homeboy Eric, my mentor, my big bro. We got a running joke that I tell everybody that I'm surgical with my gun. Anytime I pull it out, I don't miss. I don't miss. I hit what well, not this time. I didn't intend to hit myself, but I didn't miss. So still, I'm surgical with this gun, so don't run up on your boy. Nah, man, but after about a day or so of me just feeling completely ashamed and embarrassed, I began to really, really question why I'm doing any of this stuff. Why am I coaching? Why am I trying to be an entrepreneur? Why don't I just go get a job? Why did I choose to be a husband? Was it a right choice to get married? Like, I'll begin to question everything in my life because I was going in such a dark place. But thanks be to God, praise be to God for not only his mercy, his love, and his compassion, but the people that he's placed around my life. Because by the second or third day after I shot myself, I was still in the funk. But it's something about having a wolf pack around you of phenomenal men. Because by the third and fourth day, I began to get phone calls that weren't so much phone calls about, hey, bro, you all right? Oh, man, I hope you all right, bro. Like, you need anything? Those calls stopped after day 3. The people didn't stop calling, but those type of phone calls stopped. The next kind of phone calls I began to get was, yo, pity party's over with. You all right? Time to get back to work. You've had some time emotionally to deal with your wounds, but we're not going to sit here and be on this pity party with you. That was Eric. My man David from New York, he calls me. He asks me what happens on the second day. I tell him, cool, you all right? Great. The next day he calls me, he goes, bro, I'm not calling to check on you right now. I'm calling to fire you up. I've known you for a long time. You've been through worse. You broke the biggest bone in your body. You've been in shootouts. You've been grazed by bullets. This is not a sympathy party. You are okay. And I was like, you're right. I needed that. I needed somebody to kick my behind and pull me out of that mess that I was in mentally. And this is why it's so important to have the right people around you. Dave called me. Yo, bro, I'm calling to check on you. Good? All right, you good. Boom. Let's get to work. What's the next step from here? How do we move forward? And I began to realize that not only am I okay, but I'm going to be okay. And the people around me are not going to let me just waddle in my mess. I began to be more grateful and my attitude began to pick up. And then guess what happens? On one leg, barely moving, the wife goes outside to take the kids to the park one day to go have a good time, get them out of the house. And the car doesn't start. The battery dies in the car. So now I'm like, man, come on. How's my battery dead right now? And I can't even go outside and be the one to change it. Once again, I had to lean on my wolf pack. I called my brother Dave. Yo, Dave, listen, I need a favor. He was like, say less, I'll be there. Came through, did the work for your boy, literally. Took the battery out my car, drove me to the battery spot, helped me get the battery, bring it back, put the battery in, helped me get the car started for my family. This is what a real brotherhood will do for you. Yo, Dave, I love you. I appreciate you. Yo, Eric, I love and appreciate you. Thank y'all so much, man. KB, I love and appreciate you, bro. Troy, I love and appreciate you, bro. Brent, I love and appreciate you, bro. Every last one of y'all in this circle, man. Mike Williams, I love and appreciate you, bro. I thank each and every one of y'all, man. Because at my worst, mentally, I was there to help me pull me out. Thank y'all so much. Y'all just don't know how grateful I am to have y'all in my life, man. Yo, David, I love and appreciate you, bro. Thank you. Thank you for not throwing a pity party for your boy. Thank you for inspiring me, motivating me to get back to my life. Thank y'all. It means the world to me. I just don't know how much it means to me. It's amazing how God will put people in your life right when you need them. Out of everybody I just mentioned, 2 of the gentlemen has known me majority of my life. Everyone else has been brand new within the last 3 or 4 years. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I'm thankful. Because I'm standing today, not because of my strength. I'm standing here today because the people around me and the God that I serve would not let me stay down. So I hope, y'all, that you take something from this episode. I pray that I said something that inspires someone to move, to motivate themselves, to be better to themselves. To every man out there, slow down. Smell the flowers. To all the dads out there, all the fathers, slow down and give yourself a chance to be a man. I'll take it one even further. Men, take a moment to nurture that boy inside of you. There's still a little boy in each and every one of us that just wants to chill for a moment. That just wants to be. That just wants to be seen about. Do the world a favor, young men, and see about that little boy within inside of you. Check on him daily. Check on the little man inside of you daily. Nurture him. Care for him. Love on him. Give yourself the love you deserve. And learn how to just be. And stop doing so much. Your life depends on it, man. Your family depends on you. We depend on you. Society as a whole depends on you, sir. So my message to you today is take the time to see about yourself. I don't mean just physically, because that's important. Please go to the doctors. See about yourself. Slow down to make sure that you're okay. But more than that, take the time just to be yourself. Check in on yourself. Love on yourself. Because if you don't do it, it's damn near impossible for someone else to do it for you. And if you wait for that, you'll be waiting a lifetime. You deserve to be loved by you, sir. You deserve your own love, King. And until you give that love to yourself, God, until you give yourself that love, you will never be able to give it to anyone else or receive it from anyone else. It starts with you, sir. King, it starts with you. So my last message that I want to leave before I get up out of here is to every man that owns a gun, to every man that operates a firearm, to every man that has a license to carry a concealed firearm or just to carry a firearm, period. My message just to you is don't have what my wife calls too much gunfidence. Confidence with your gun. double check, triple check, quadruple check if necessary when you're handling your firearm around people, your loved ones, and yourself. Let my testimony be an example to you that you do not want to make this mistake. Let my mistake be a lesson to you. Double, triple, quadruple check your firearm and use all your safety protocols. If you do not understand what I'm speaking about when it comes down to safety protocols with your firearm, please go take a course. Look it up, Google it, firearm safety courses. They're on YouTube, but I advise you to go take one in person. I've been operating firearms since I was a child, but even after this incident, I'm going to take another course. I'm going to resharpen my tools. There's nothing wrong with it. It's better safe than sorry. So, like I said, fellas, that message is to you out there. If you own a firearm, do always and always, 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 always do your due diligence when operating your firearm. Because if you do not, you have the opportunity to make a mistake that will change not only your life, but someone you care about drastically. So, with that being said, I love and appreciate each and every one of you guys. As always, do me a favor, like, comment, and share. Subscribe. Please subscribe to this podcast so we can grow, so we can get this message out there. I love and appreciate each and every one of you guys for tapping in and checking in with us. The next episode of Imperfect Fathers podcast will be coming through real soon. I have the fathers coming back. I got some dope guests coming through as well. So stay tuned. This podcast is back and we are going to keep it pushing. I appreciate and love everybody out there. Thank you again for your support. And you know my energy and you know my vibe. But if you don't, I'm going to put you on. Fellas, to the world, you're just some dad. That's all you are to the world. But to your family, you are the world. More than you know it. But until the next time that I see you, bro, be good to yourself and the ones around you. It's important. But if you can't be good to the people around you, here's some advice. Get those people from around you. Yo, man, this is your boy RJD, the Imperfect Gentleman. And this has been another dope episode of the Imperfect Fathers podcast. Y'all be blessed, because we will. Peace, kings.